Welcome back to another Shields of Shame video, everyone. I hope you're well. This video is an update video to a video that I haven't even made yet. I know it sounds crazy, and no, I'm not messing with you. So some things have developed that I want to share with you. Not only that, I want to show you where I am in the process of making the videos that you're going to see behind all of this. I've been working on this for several weeks, maybe a month now, and I still have a lot of records to request, as this is turned into something a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be, so it's taking a little bit more time. But I do want to share one aspect of this entire story with you, because one of the most common requests I get is folks reaching out to me via Facebook Messenger, email, and asking how can they get records. How can they got into a little incident with some cops and they want to know how to get the records, how to get the body cam, and what can they do? What can they do? Even though I try to help everyone, I'm just one guy. I'm not an agency, I'm not an organization. I have a full-time job. YouTube is something I do as a passion. You know, it's just something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about exposing these rotten cops that are out there, and this is going to be one of them. But I wanted to kind of show you where I'm at right now, and then hopefully this will help you be able to decide which direction you need to go if you have an incident that you want to look into, right? So what's the first thing I had to do? The first thing I did was I was just scrolling through my 2024 decertification listing, probably the only person that has this, but it is 1,263 cops that were decertified last year. And as you can see, that's a lot. I had ChatGPT break down stats behind this, and as I was breezing through here, I seen a charge that I've never seen before: possession or use of steroids. Now, we know that a lot of cops use steroids, so it seemed like a common thing, right? Like we would all expect to hear that cops do steroids. But literally, this is the only instance. Well, there's two of them. There's two cops here. I'm going to introduce you to both of them here in a second. They are the only two that's ever been decertified for possession or use of steroids. This has never happened before. And I have lists that go back to 1979, perhaps even further than that. So I was intrigued. I want to know more about this. Like, how in the world did you find this out? How did y'all know that he was doing it? Because he's not a big guy. So that's when he was working at the LaGrange Police Department. And this is him right here, inside of the little square. And this is his certification. So as we can see here, he was decertified May 17th, 2024. We're going to leave this open. We may come back to it in a second. The investigation was started July 4th, 2023, and he resigned while under investigation. So I wanted to know more about both of these cops. I haven't shown you the other one yet. I will here in a second. But I wanted to know what in the world's going on here. You know, I wanted to know how this got caught, how they figured this out. So of course, you know, I did what I do. I sent a request, and I already have leverage because I'd already requested the files that the Georgia Post Council has. So that gave me leverage. That told me that things exist, right? But the only things I got were these interviews. This is not a video. This is someone recording a conversation with I guess a phone in their pocket. Not really 100% sure, but so we just got interviews. No video, nothing like that. I was like, okay, well, let me see if I can get some type of video or body cam or something. This is the other cop right here, and his name is Shellnut. Noah Shellnut. More on him later because we got those interviews, and I've already started kind of working that story. But I want to share with you one of the things that's happened through all of this. I've shown you the picture of him at the LaGrange Police Department on their Facebook page. And one of the first things I do is I hit social media, searching their name, seeing if I can find any type of imagery, just to double verify and validate that I have the right person. So when searching his name, I ended up coming across this, which this belongs to this, the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office. And this is him, Robert Artec Nunez. And if we go into the pictures here, we'll end up running across. There he is. This is him. Same guy. Same guy. So then I was like, well, I need to call the St. Lucie's Sheriff's Office in Florida and let them know who they just hired, because this is them swearing him in August 13th, 2024. Just a couple months after he was decertified. Now, he's still under investigation by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. I've requested the case files for both of those cops, completely different incidents, but to see if they have anything on either one of them. But as you can see, it's still pending. And I sent this request 19 days ago. Not only that, I have requests down here that are a month old with no response. The Open Records Act is this. They have to produce responsive records within 72 hours if those records are available. It says nothing about sending an acknowledgement, because that's what the GBI does. They send an automated email, we got your request. Okay, that's great because I know I sent it, but that's not in compliance with the Georgia Open Records Act, and the Attorney General's office will not take complaints on the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, even though they are constantly violating the Open Records Act in Georgia. Constantly. It's been going on for years. And it's probably going to take litigation to fix it. So how do I know that he was under investigation? Well, I sent a request for both those cops to the LaGrange Police Department. And this goes on down here. And Jeremy Butler, this guy inside of the square, told me that he learned today that the IA involving LPD Officer Shellnut was not part of an IA investigation involving Officer Artec, which is under investigation by the GBI and is not subject to release. Basically what he's telling me is that up here before, he sent me an email telling me that he can't release anything because they're both under investigation, but Shellnut is not under investigation, just Artec. So you may be saying, okay, so what does this all got to do with the price of peanuts and Shady Dill? Well, at around that time, I reached out to the St. Lucie Sheriff's Office and let them know that they had a state line decertified cop jumper that just joined their agency and they may want to look into it. I left a message and I sent a couple emails and then I just let it go. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and keep going on and on with them. I'm trying to give them some valuable information. So finally today, on the way home from work, I get a phone call from Lieutenant Charlie Lumpkin of the St. Lucie Sheriff's Office, because I told him on the phone that he wanted proof that Nunez was actually under investigation and was a decertified cop in Georgia. So I was like, hey man, no problem. I can send all that to you as soon as I get home. And that's exactly what I did. The first thing I sent him was the 2024 decertification listing for Georgia, which clearly shows Nunez being decertified for possession of steroids. And also sent him his certification showing he was revoked. He was revoked May of 2024. And 3 months later, he's getting sworn in at the St. Lucie's Sheriff's Office. So I sent him that and let him know where I got it from. So if he wants to reach out and get these same files from the Georgia Post Council just to double verify and validate what I'm telling him is accurate. But I didn't just do that. I forwarded him the whole entire email chain from Jeremy Butler. And by the way, Mr. Butler, if you're watching this video, you're in violation of the Georgia Open Records Act because I still have not received these 177 pages, no ETA of when I'm going to get them. So we'll follow up on this probably Monday, find out what's going on with that. But it's just the personnel files and things of that nature. So what I did next was, well, before I made those phone calls, so what I also did at that time was request Nunez's personnel file application from the St. Lucie Sheriff's Office to see if he mentioned anything about the investigation he's under, the fact that he resigned while under investigation, the fact that he was decertified last year and see if he put any of those things on his application. Because remember, civil rights are federal crimes. No police agency, no state agency is going to investigate any complaint on civil rights. You have to sue them. However, if you come to them with an administrative policy violation, they'll investigate the living shit out of these cops. That's what we're trying to do right now with Nunes, is get him terminated. And he'll just be another notch under my belt. I think he makes probably 8 or 9. I don't know. There's probably way more than that. Who knows? So let's go on down through his application and see what he's talking about. He did list LaGrange Police Department on his application. However, the date that he put on here is incorrect. He actually left LaGrange May 19, 2023, but he put July of 2023 over here. So that's one issue already. We got to find out what happened with him at the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. He was only there for a few months. All right, so the important thing here is his reason for leaving. Why did he leave LaGrange Police Department? Moving states to Florida. Doesn't say anything about getting decertified, resigning while under investigation, yada, yada, yada. So now we'll get on down to the questionnaire, and this is where the interesting things are. So here's it. Question number 9. Have you ever been dismissed, forced to resign, or asked to resign by an employer? No. I would say that he was definitely forced to resign under those circumstances, or he felt that way anyway. Have you ever had any being the key word here, disciplinary actions taken against you by an employer? This includes, but is not limited to, verbal warning, counseling, written warning, counseling, suspension, demotion, or termination. He said no. Have you ever been involved in internal affairs investigation? He says yes. Please explain, including employer, date, and reason. I was involved in an IA investigation in reference to testosterone use. That part is true. That part is very true. Have you resigned or left a job by mutual agreement following allegations of misconduct or unsatisfactory job performance? He said no. That is a lie. Question 38. Have you ever committed a crime for which you were not arrested or convicted? He answered no. Possessing steroids is not legal in any state that I'm aware of. Definitely not in Georgia. Have you ever been the subject or suspect in a criminal investigation? No. You've seen in the email, Sergeant Jeremy Butler himself said that Nunes was under investigation by the GBI. So there's another lie. Now, this is interesting right here, and I'm not really sure why they redacted this. Have you ever illegally obtained, possessed, used, supplied, or sold any narcotic or controlled substance? And it looks like he may have put the testosterone here and put the reason here. I don't know why they think it's okay to redact this. Do you currently use any narcotic or controlled substance? And he answered no. It's unknown. It's unknown. We don't have any interviews of him. This is all we have, pretty much. And here we go. Have you had any illegal drug use in the last 2 years prior to the date of application? He said no. Again, once the GBI concludes their investigation, we'll get those case files and we'll revisit this questionnaire and find out how much of this is true. We already know some of it is not true. So that was what I did. I got his application, cost $25. And of course, as you can see, they made some unlawful redactions. In my opinion, those are unlawful. So we're going to have to revisit that. I'm not really interested in anything else as far as St. Lucie because he hasn't been there very long. I wouldn't mind getting some of his body cam from there. Also from Fulton County and from LaGrange Police Department to see what his state of mind is when he's dealing with the public and see if these steroids were causing him to get angry at people, lose his cool, and things like that. I've known people in my life when I was young that took steroids. People that take steroids, you don't want to be around them. They're pissed off all the time. But that is the update to the video you guys haven't seen, but now you know a majority of what's going on here and what it's about. I know several people have asked, when am I going to have this video ready? You know, unfortunately, guys, I have videos that it took almost a year. One video that took a year and a half to make. A lot of these cases are they're so obfuscated, and these cops just jump agencies, so I have to track them down everywhere they go and get files from all over the place and put it all together where it makes sense. And I hope that the way I explained all of this makes sense. Basically, the gist of it is that I'm trying to get records on him and the other cop. I exposed him to his current employer in Florida. Hopefully we'll be able to get some investigative case files behind that and see what they've done. Getting him fired from the agency in Florida would probably save someone a lot of grief and agony later on down the road. It's just kind of hard to tell on things like that. But the video is fun to make, yes, but it's a whole lot more fun to run these jokers out of law enforcement. That is my goal. That is what I'm trying to do. And the video just brings additional pressure to the situation. Lets them know, hey, you know, now everyone's going to know that he works there. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Depending on how this goes, if they fire him in Florida, hopefully, you know, that'll all happen before the GBI responds and lets me know whether or not those case files can be released or not. We can tie it all into the whole, to one big story. If they terminate him over the administrative violations, that would be fantastic. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. But that is the update to the video you've never seen, guys. I really appreciate you. For those of you that are reaching out to me in email and over Facebook Messenger, please continue to do so. Thank you for all the stories that you share with me. Thank you for reaching out. My intention is to not ignore anyone, but give me a little time. Sometimes it takes a couple days for me to get around to responding, because as you can see in my inbox, it's completely full of open records requests. Just about all of this is open records requests. It's constant. This is just from this month. Not only that, we have multiple cases that have been developing. Another case I'm going to share with you here pretty soon is the video you recently saw with Lucas, Mr. Shane Lucas, that was arrested for DUI and he was sober. One thing I don't think I put in that video, and I want to kick myself for it, is that there was no drugs found. There was no test at trial, during the discovery phase of his lawsuit. There were no test results. The only test result they had was the alcohol. There was uncertainty in the test, so it couldn't be used. But that's the minor part of all that. His girlfriend, a couple weeks before, was tased 3 times by these cops, abused, assaulted, humiliated, and just put through a living nightmare. That's the case that I'm working on now. Mr. Lucas works, so he's getting me files as often as he can, as much as he can. So I'm putting that story together, but that one's a little more complex, and I'm going to have to do a whole lot of records requests. But just to piggyback on that, this is the guy that I've been dealing with at the Long County Sheriff's Office named Mark Hall. And right now, Mr. Hall is complying with all of my open records requests. So we have their internal policy manual that he sent me, along with a bunch of other files. So that Long County case is going to go on and on because it's the same one Shane's girlfriend was assaulted by. We are also waiting on records for the trooper, that was pulled over by Quincy Cannon. The trooper was going 105 miles an hour with no lights on. We're still waiting on all those records. We're also waiting on a lot of records for Christopher Ashdown from the Georgia State Patrol, as well as a host of other records and issues that we're having, especially this monstrosity of a request here, which started July 20, actually it started a little bit before that, I think around June of 2024, last year. We're still going on with this. It's crazy. The Atlanta Police Department. This is a request that I'm helping Lackluster get. I don't know what it's about. It's none of my business. I'm just trying to help my man get the files he needs so he can make his masterpiece of a video. However, Atlanta PD is not playing very nice. On July 29, 2024, I was told by Anthony Grant that J. Michael, the cop we're looking into, has 8 BWC videos associated under the case that I requested. And he goes on to tell me that he's going to get me a file estimate. And then he comes back and he says, on 11/22/2024, there is no BWC for the 2 of the names you listed, Gary Harper and Roland Thomas. There is BWC for J. Michael, and there will be a cost estimate associated with it. So there, in those 2 dates, he has admitted that there's body cam for this one cop. And then he tells me that the body worn camera is 4 hours, a total of $87.41. And I agreed to pay, by the way. And then he says, but keep in mind, this is mostly dash cam, driving, and idle footage. Just an FYI, so you're not wasting your time and money. So he released an audio file, an audio 911 call. I haven't listened to that. And a duplicate of dash cam, which this dash cam is only, let's see if it'll open if I click that link. Yep. This dash cam is only 13 minutes long. 13 minutes and 40 seconds. And it's just of him driving. And he gave me the same video twice. No body worn camera. There's not 4 hours here of anything. So my response, and by the way, this is a complaint that I sent to the Atlanta Police Department. I have not filed this complaint with the Attorney General yet, but I'm going to probably Monday or Tuesday. And basically what I did is create a timeline of all of the requests, all the communication, how everything went all the way through all this. Because as we get down through here, he starts to say things like, well, there is no body cam. So 11/22, he told me that he located, he requested access for videos for J. Michael, the one that is supposed to have 4 hours of footage on. And this goes on and on. I agree to pay. This email was sent to them back on March 8th. It's a few days ago. And this request has been driving me damn bonkers because I typically don't have issues with Atlanta Police Department. I typically get the records that I'm asking for. So I don't know what's in this body cam that they're trying so hard to protect and keep anyone from seeing. But whatever it is, it must be really, really bad. That's all I'm going to say. But right now, we don't know. We can only imagine, right? We can only speculate. That's what the police do, speculate. So those are a few cases I'm working on. This is another case that I'm working on. It involves, I'll just go ahead and tell you about it real quick. And then we'll go ahead and end this video. That's what I love about YouTube. We can make the videos as long as we want, but not everybody's going to watch them for that duration, right? But I will tell you about this story right here. This is bonkers. This is about 3 cops. Let me show you what they look like. I'm going to do you like that, man. I'm going to at least show you. These are the 3 cops. There are better. I have better pictures of Spivey. Let me get over here. I have her service photo. Just got it the other day. I have a lot of requests out for this case. And that's her. So what we got here, these 2, Thomas and Christie, work at the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. Christie has worked at the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office since 2022, and she was terminated. And she's under file review. But anyway, that's just a whole nother part of this story. This is not going to be a one video story. This is going to be multiple a lot of videos. But let's go over here and go into the whole story. Started with Thomas Ray Coggins, who was revoked last year, January of last year in 2024. So they both worked at the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. Rabun County Sheriff's Office was the agency that responded to dispute. So let's rewind. These two worked together. These two started a relationship together. Thomas went to Christy's crib up in the mountains. Ian is Christy's boyfriend. They've been dating for quite some time. Ian hasn't heard much from Christy lately, so he decides to drive 2 hours from Atlanta all the way to her place and go up this mountain, and then he gets up there and she fires off gunshots to warn anybody coming up that road. But Ian doesn't stop. He continues. He comes up there. They get into a heated argument. Thomas runs off, hides behind a tree. Christy pulls out a gun, aims it at Ian, and tells him to leave. She later gets arrested, gets booked, gets charged, and yeah, all that stuff stuck. She's still going through all that. So she's under post review, post investigation because of that. Because she was fired from the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office for all this. These two work at the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. Ian works for the Atlanta Police Department, but we're still waiting on a lot of stuff from this. So what I do, I sent requests to Forsyth County Sheriff's Office for Thomas Ray Coggins and Christy Ray Spivey. Now, just when you think it don't get any deeper, it gets really, really super deep. So we're waiting on requests for these two from Forsyth. The disciplinary files, public complaints, first page of all use of force, because I have a funny feeling Christy's going to have a lot of use of force incidents. Going back a little further, remember what I told you about Ian? He hadn't heard from Christy in a while, which is why he drove 2 hours to go find out what's going on. But prior to that, he was using GCIC terminal to look up information on her. I'm not really sure what all the dynamics are of all of that. All I know is that he was investigated by the Atlanta Police Department for using GCIC, the Georgia Crime Information Center, where all these cops, they get all the information on you. If you got a warrant or something, that's where it's at. But he was using it to get information on her, and he got caught. So he was investigated by the Atlanta Police Department. He's still an officer today. Thomas is not, and Christy is not. What I'm trying to do is get body cam showing, because the only thing I've got in this case, well, I would say only, there's a lot. Let me just kind of show you what we have here. We have Thomas's interview, which is got a lot of lies. He lies a lot in that one. Two of his interviews, we've got the conversation with Ian, which Ian calls and the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office and makes a complaint because Christy pointed the gun in his face. And that's what got her fired. He's still a cop. So he's actively employed since 2017 at the Atlanta Police Department. So he's good to go. And he's in good standing. So he's not under investigation or anything like that yet. I'm kind of shocked that there is no investigation over his unlawful use of GCIC, because that is a big one for Post. They will nail you to the cross for that one. So that was a lot. That phone call Ian made to the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office is close to an hour, and it is full of some of the most craziest shit you will ever hear a cop say. He rats her out, talks about how she's sending everybody in the department new photos and all that kind of stuff. It's a wild interview. So being as it's a wild interview, I wanted to get as many components to this whole entire story and put it all together so you can have one complete big story where you'll know everything involved. Unfortunately, Christy Spivey was not interviewed. We don't have that. I'm not going to sit here and say it don't exist because, like I said, those requests are still in with Forsyth. I don't think the Georgia Post Council sent me everything for this case. I think there's a lot of records that they didn't send me. So I'm going through Forsyth to get them from them. And they've asked for a 2-week extension. So I think I might ruffle a little feathers there. We'll see. Those of you not new to the channel, you may remember that I had a big ordeal with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office years ago, where I had to file 2 complaints with the Attorney General. I ended up getting the Open Records Custodian's image, disciplinary file, and making a big deal about that. I filed complaints. It was a nightmare. Finally, I got a little bit of headway, but not much. So those are the stories that I'm working on, folks. Well, actually a lot more than that, but those are like the main ones. Those are the big ones. I hope you got some information out of it that you probably didn't have before. One thing I'll tell you is be detailed. Dates, specifics, times. Those are very important details. If you are dealing with the police, if you're dealing with any branch of government, Department of Family and Children Services, DFACS, make sure you are recording them. In the moment, it may not seem like it's necessary. In the moment, you may feel like you trust the people you're talking to. They make you feel that way. What you don't know is when you turn your back and walk away, they're stabbing you. You need to record everything. If you're not comfortable recording, have a hidden recorder. Get you one off eBay, just the audio recorder. I highly recommend video, but I'm also trying to keep in consideration the climate and the environment that you may be in. As soon as you're done, write the date down, write the time down. Don't try to memorize it, write it down. So let me just give you a scenario. Let's say you're dealing with DFACS. Let's say you're dealing with some caseworkers that want to try to remain anonymous. They can't, by the way. They have to identify themselves, and you can get their personnel records and public complaints and application. You get all sorts of things on them. Same as the police. They're no different. You just can't get case files on kids. You can't do that with any agency, by the way. And let's say that DFACS came and took a kid, but they didn't have no warrant, and the police were called. They're standing off in the background. They got their body cams going. You can get that the next day. But for now, we need to make sure we're recording these caseworkers, because they say things like, we got orders to remove the child. Well, you got to have a warrant for that. You got to have a judge's signature on it, a court order to remove a child from a home. A lot of times, these caseworkers won't have that. And by the way, when that's the case, and they're standing outside off your property, and they can stand there until they get the warrant and the court order, you're free to go, man. You're free to come, you're free to stay, you're free to leave. You can drive away. Kid in car and all. There's not a damn thing they can do. If they try to block you, at that point, they're violating your civil rights under the color of law, because they work for the government. And they're violating your 4th Amendment by restricting your movement. DFACS caseworkers are not state certified officers. They're just employees. They have no power. They don't have qualified immunity either. They can be sued in their individual capacity if they violate your civil rights under the color of law. Most of them will. Most of them will attempt to restrict your movement. That's a 4th Amendment violation. Most of them will try to restrict your speech. That's a 1st Amendment violation. Most of them will try to take your child away from you without proper court order. That's a 14th Amendment violation. We can go on and on and on. They will violate your civil rights. Very few people understand what that really means, so they get away with it. That's why I say you have to document everything. Details matter. Don't worry about trying to make sense out of any of it. Just document it. Start you a notepad on your computer, or on your phone, or on a tablet, and just make daily notes. If you talk to anyone on the phone, record the phone calls. In the state of Georgia, you can record a conversation as long as you're part of the conversation. That's in private places. In public, it don't make a damn if you're a part of the conversation or not. You can record in public. Record what people are saying and record what they're doing. Anytime, anywhere in the United States, under the First Amendment, under freedom of press. And no, you don't need a card. No one issues those. You can literally make your own with a crayon. I know a lot of that was probably unnecessary to put in this video, but I also know there's a lot of people that reach out to me on the side that are having issues with defects, and that was for them. That was for you guys. You know who you are. Record them. Record everything, especially if they bring the police. Record everything. If you need to buy a Ring camera to do that, buy a Ring camera. If you need to buy a trail cam to do that, buy a trail cam. If you need to buy a GoPro or whatever, make the investment. Trust me, it's worth it. They will destroy your fucking life. You have the power to stop them, but you have to document them. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace and love.